Welcome back, everybody, to Royally Quacked Special Edition. We have a special guest, especially for you Kings fans. He's the host of All the King's Men and the Royal Half. So don't forget, after the Kings game, go onto the Royal Half and call Jesse Cohen. Welcome to Royally Quacked, Jesse. It's such a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so
I'm not talking to Cody because he's the wrong kind of fan.
Oh, I get it from Eddie Garcia all the time, so you're fine.
Good.
Yeah.
but
He'll talk crap on me all the time, and it's fine. It's funny.
it's okay because him and Doug talk crap about me and Eddie, so
Yeah.
it's okay. I can live with that. So the first big question: how did you become a Kings fan?
I was born in Toronto, and my family moved to LA when I was 3. And my dad and his best friend, my dad's from Ottawa, and he and his best friend, who is also from Ottawa, by coincidence, found themselves both living in LA in the early 80s. And they both loved hockey, coming from Canada, coming from Ottawa. And so they started going in on tickets to the Kings games. And my dad's friend has a son who is maybe 10 years younger than me, somewhere in that neighborhood. So he would go to some games, we would go to some games, and just over the years, it became something that I did with my dad, and that's kind of it.
Wow, I mean, we don't even understand that at all, Jesse. Obviously, my son's a hockey fan because I was a hockey fan. And I got to say, I've been a fan since almost day one. I really wasn't a big follower, probably till my mid-20s.
Mm-hmm.
When I started playing street hockey, I really got into everything. I did love the whole Triple Crown line. That was so much excitement and fun. So I can understand anybody. If they don't know what hockey's about, they need to find out because it's an awesome sport.
Firm believer, Gary, that the way you convert fans into something that they don't care about or don't know about is to show them how excited other people are about it. Right. I was talking to a friend of mine. We went out to dinner the other night after, the day after Thanksgiving, and it was sort of a bunch of friends that had gotten together. And we were all sitting around asking each other, are you watching this show? Or are you watching that show? Or, who's watching what show? And a friend of mine who doesn't have social media, he's got 2 kids. He works in medicine. He's a very busy guy. And he was talking to us and he was totally incredulous. He said, where do you guys, how do you know what show to watch? And I had to stop and think about it and be like, I honestly don't know. But the more I thought about it, the answer was, well, when I'm on social media, or if I'm on Reddit, which I don't know, I guess is a form of social media, there are people I trust. There are people whose opinions I trust. And when they're excited about something, I get excited about it. And even if it's not one specific person, if enough people are talking about something in an excited way, I feel like, oh, everybody out there seems to have gone and seen this movie. I would like to be part of that conversation. I am going to go watch the movie, if for no other reason than to be part of the conversation. And it works on good things and bad things, right? I never saw Madam Web, but I know a ton of people thought Madam Web was awful. Cody, I'm assuming you did see it.
Yes.
But the point is,
I have not seen that.
I was tempted to go see it just because people seemed to be having a lot of fun talking about how awful it was. So the way to get people into things is to be genuinely excited about it and expose people to your excitement. You can't trick them with, commercials or whatever. You gotta have, and if it's your parent or your spouse or your loved one or family member, whatever, or your friend, it's going to be 10 times as powerful, right? I got into hockey because of my dad. Cody, you got into hockey because of your dad. Gary, you're the outlier here because you got into it. I don't know. I guess the team showed up and you were like, well, I guess I'll do this now.
Well, I know there was a couple times I think I was maybe 9 when the Kings started.
Mm-hmm.
and I was at my sister's house, and for some reason, they wanted to go shopping or something, and I stayed at their house, and they just happened to turn on the TV, and there was a Kings game on, and I started watching it, and then that's how I first really got interested. I mean, that's a memory that I had forgotten about, Jesse, until we just started speaking about it. But and then it just, you're right, the excitement of other people. I had a friend. When I was 27, he goes, I played softball with this guy, and he goes, "Hey, we're gonna play street hockey. You're really athletic. Would you like to play?" I go, "I've never had a hockey stick in my hand."
Right.
So they take me out and they started teaching me a little bit. And, after that, and I started playing by the end of and we got put in the top division in Buena Park Street Hockey League. If any old people like me remember, that's where it started big in
Mm-hmm.
Orange County. And by seasons 2 and 3, I was scoring a couple, 2, 3 goals a game or assists, and
All right. Check
and
you out.
being something. So, and
Uh-huh.
it was I had so much fun with it. It really, that revitalized me into hockey, and the only unfortunate thing, my whole family's excited about hockey, but other than my daughter's husband, they're all Ducks fans. Where did I go wrong, Jesse?
I don't
Where
know,
did I
but you
go
did.
wrong?
You somewhere you went horribly wrong. I'm trying real hard not to judge you for it, but
Well, I can tell you what to blame: Mighty Duck movies and the Mighty Duck cartoons. He was glued to that stuff.
I have had this fight with Jim Fox countless times. I think that the Mighty Ducks movies converted way more people to be hockey fans than the Wayne Gretzky trade. Now, if you want to be super pedantic about it, you can say that the Mighty Ducks movies happened because of the Wayne Gretzky trade, because the guys who wrote the Mighty Ducks movies realized how much they missed hockey because they had moved to LA to work in Hollywood, and then Gretzky gets traded to LA, and they go, "Oh yeah, hockey," and hockey becomes popular in LA, so that motivates them to make movies about hockey. But nobody knows any of that. That's all just behind the scenes stuff. The reality is, I talk to tons of fans of a certain vintage, as I like to say, who their first introduction to hockey was the Mighty Ducks movies.
Yeah.
And everybody knows the flying V and the knuckle puck and all that dumb stuff that isn't real. But
It's not true.
I've
Done it many times on NHL 26 or whatever.
Sure you have. But no, I mean, that's and again, if you can, that's who stuff like that works on, is kids. That's who.
My wife worked at Disneyland, and before the Ducks, I mean, I had her leaning over. We had on the ice tickets at the Forum. This is how long ago, the Forum, right? Getting Wayne Gretzky's autograph in 92, 93 before the Stanley Cup. He was hurt his back, was out for a while. He walked by. She stuck the program down. I was holding her so she didn't fall over the edge. And we got Wayne Gretzky's autograph somewhere in my house, which I have no idea where it is. And I'm hoping we didn't
yet your
throw
kid
that
is
out.
Still a Ducks fan. I don't
Well,
know.
she
You did
became
something
a
wrong
Ducks
here.
fan because one of the guys she worked with had season tickets, and she actually went to the first home game they won.
There you go.
So,
with the Iceman.
And she traded on me. She
Yeah.
became a trader. I got to say, we have 3 great kids, even though they're all Duck fans too. I'm blessed that way, but at least it's hockey. And
Yep.
I'm a big hockey guy more than just the Kings.
Mhm.
I love hockey, and I could watch anybody play anytime, anywhere.
At least we're not Oilers fans.
Silver lining.
But I agree with what you were saying about bringing people into the game. I also found another way is just bringing people to games as well.
Yeah.
And I've done that because I had a buddy that used to make fun of me for always like being up to date with the hockey games and the Ducks games. I'd always get the ESPN alerts. And he was making fun of me. I was like, let's go to a game. I guarantee you'll change your mind. we went to a game. It was, I forgot who the Ducks were playing. They were down by a goal, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna leave." I'm like, "Well, you leave. I'm staying."
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a 1-goal game. The Ducks just pulled their goalie. I'm like, I stay till the very end unless it's like a blowout, you know. And sure enough, everyone decided to stay. The Ducks tied it up with like 3 seconds left. We go into overtime. It was, I think, just when 3-on-3 just started happening. So it was very exciting before the coaches ruined it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Ducks went in overtime. And my friend's like, holy moly, that was fun. Him and his wife didn't even invite me. They went to the next home game and didn't invite me. And then they've been Ducks fans since.
So the trick of bringing someone to a game is that that's just mainlining mass excitement.
Yes.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
That's
Like,
that's
it's exactly
bringing
what
somebody
you're saying,
in
just,
and
you know,
plugging an IV directly into them. Of here's 20. Like you thought one person was excited about it. Here's what 20,000 people looks like when they're excited about it.
So
this is like when the Ducks were like playoff team every year.
so Cody's wife had no idea what hockey was till she met him.
No,
Woof.
Now, if you
she
take her
knew.
to a game, Jesse, if they don't let them fight, those words that my wife doesn't like to hear happen. And it comes out of her mouth. We went to a goals rain game down in San Diego, and the refs would not let them even try to have a little fisticuffs.
Yeah.
And she was screaming, and the guy in front of her just turned around and just started laughing. I mean, because here's somebody who didn't even know what hockey was. Now you take her to a game. You talk about passion. His wife has passion.
I
She
just
really
went to
does.
a Gulls Wranglers game weekend before last, and a friend of mine hadn't been to a hockey game in, I don't know, maybe 30 years, 20 years, something like that. And I don't know these two teams. It's Calgary versus San Diego in the AHL. I'm just sort of there watching it. And 30 seconds into the game, I point out, I go, oh, those two guys, there's going to be a fight before the end of the game. My friend looks at me and goes, "You're crazy." And I go, "No, I'm telling you, man." And sure enough, 8 minutes later, it's one of the most brutal fights I've ever seen.
Well, we took my cousin to his first ever hockey game a few years ago. It was Ducks versus Kings, and it was the game where Gibson skated out to center
Oh, yeah,
ice
with Copley.
with Copley, and I was like, "Oh my god, I get to see a goalie fight live," and the refs ruined it.
Yeah.
And you can hear my wife yelling, "Let him fight," because you heard everyone in the crowd. They wanted to see a goalie fight, and I think with
We all did.
Yeah, with Copley and Gibson at that time, and I know Copley has an anger streak, and I know Gibson was just tired of always getting hurt and injured and losing. I can only imagine the anger from him. So I was like, that would have been so fun just to see.
I still take it as a personal affront from the hockey gods that we never got to see Jonathan Quick just swinging in a Kings jersey. Like, the amount of times that there was almost a goalie fight with Jonathan Quick, but not quite. And there was all that tension built up. And I just thought, you know what? He's like, his last game, he's got to just go crazy. But didn't happen. So what do you do?
Yeah, it didn't happen. Now he's a Red Wing.
No, Ranger.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gibson.
Quick.
You're talking
Gibson. Yeah,
I'm
Green
talking
Knight.
about Jonathan
We're
Quick.
talking.
I mean, we almost saw. We almost saw that against the. Sorry, we almost saw that against the Red Wings, though. When after that last second empty net goal, because Quick went on the ice and just went right after the guy.
Yep, this is as close as we're gonna get, I suspect. But yeah,
I could see Quick going at someone.
Boy, how did one question turn to all that?
But sorry about that. 14 minutes later.
You know, hey, I got to tell you, Jesse, it was awesome. You got to sometimes just run with it. But I do want you to answer this question. How did all the Kings men get started? I think fans want to know. Maybe when you first started, you explained it.
Yeah, probably. I've explained it different ways over the years. The long and short of it is in 2007, before smartphones were even on the market, I had a flip phone, a Motorola, I don't even remember. No, a Sony W3, I think maybe. It was a flip phone. I think that was the model.
Everyone had flip phones.
It was, well, yeah, no, I mean, like literally, this is before iPhones hit the market. So it was a flip phone that also had an MP3 player in it. And at the time, I was walking my mom's dog multiple times a day for her. And this is, again, 2007, I think, early 2007, maybe 2006. Um, and I was loading up songs on the phone to play while I walked the dog. And the walks got longer and longer and longer. I ran out of music to play on the MP3, so I started looking for podcasts, because podcasts were not kind of, they were totally new. And the only ones that really existed were shows that ESPN produced that you could then download the audio of. So I would listen to Around the Horn and Pardon the Interruption while I was walking my mom's dog. But the walks kept getting longer and I would run out of stuff to listen to. And so I went back on the internet and I said, well, surely to God, somebody out there somewhere is doing this, but for hockey, so that I can listen to people talk about hockey while I'm walking my dog, or my mom's dog. And there was only one show that I found. I did not like it. So I went on letsgokings.com and I said, I don't like this show. Come on, world. Surely we can do better than this. And somebody said, well, if you're so smart, why don't you do it? So I did.
That's how it started, really?
That's how it started.
I actually love that story. But I think you've talked to Eddie, right?
Yep.
You know how Eddie was they've been doing a podcast for 20 years.
Yes, they started about the same time as I did. The original version of All the King's Men was called Life in Hockeywood. It doesn't exist anymore. It was a guy named Matt Murray and I. And just to extend the story a little bit, did Life in Hockeywood from 2007 till December-ish of 2011. They fired Terry Murray. My family was moving. I wasn't moving. My dad and his wife and my two sisters were moving to the East Coast. It was a bummer. And Matt and I were not seeing eye to eye on the execution of the show. And so I said, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I got to focus on family. I got to focus on my life. This podcast has been fun, but it's just kind of eating up time, and the Kings are terrible, and they shouldn't have been terrible. They should have been good. They fired Terry Murray. I'm bummed. Jim Fox yelled at me, and I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I stopped doing it. Then they hired Daryl Sutter, and they started to turn things around, and by February, I was like, I miss doing this. I can't not subject the world to my opinions anymore. So I reached out. I started going door to door basically with my microphone. And at the time, I don't know if you'll remember this or not, Gary and Cody, I'm not sure how old you are, but I suspect you might be old enough. Well, you're a Ducks fan, so what do you know? But at the time, in like 2012, there were, Gary, I want to say 24 different Kings blogs in existence. Like my bookmark tab on my web browser was just jam-packed, and it was like the Royal Half, Mayor's Manor, Battle of California, Jewels from the Crown, I'm blanking on some, View from My Seats, the King's Court, Matt Berry had something going, Surly and Scribe, like there were just tons of them. So I went around to all of them and I said, listen, why are we all fighting for the same audience? There just aren't that many Kings fans in existence. We're all fighting for the same audience. Anybody who pays attention to Mayor's Manor pays attention to Surly's the Scribe, pays attention to the Royal Half, pays attention to Jewels from the Crown. We're all reading, everybody's reading the same stuff. Everybody's having the same conversation. Everybody on Let's Go Kings is also on all these other places. Now, as it turns out, there's some slivers of the fan base that exist in, and it's getting more pronounced today. Like there's people on the Discord who don't go on Twitter, and there's people on Twitter who don't go on Reddit, and there's people on Reddit who don't go on any of them, Facebook, and so it's getting more segmented. But that just means that it's smaller and smaller pieces of the pie, because there just aren't that many Kings fans out there in the universe. There's even fewer Ducks fans, thank God. But so I just went around and I said to everybody, why don't we team up and combine forces and make one place where everybody can go, and just, Hoven, you'll write your Mayor's Manor bits on Monday. Jacob and Bobby, you'll do your Surly and Scribe bits on Tuesday. Half, you'll do your stuff on Wednesday. Battle of California, you get Thursdays. Like, let's just divide and conquer. Why are we fighting for the same slice of the pie? And everybody said no, because nobody wanted to sacrifice their own little piece of editorial control, which I get. I'm a control freak. Ironically, I started doing Life in Hockeywood as an attempt to therapeutize myself. I don't know the proper conjunction of that word, but like to try and learn how to be less of a control freak, and it only made me more of a control freak, so it didn't work. But I get it. Nobody wanted to sacrifice editorial control. They all said no. The Royal Half was the only one who said yes. The Royal Half said, that's a great idea. We should do that. Why don't you come do the podcast on my website? So I started doing all the Kings, came up with the name, launched All the King's Men, Death of Life in Hockeywood, Birth of All the King's Men, started at theroyalhalf.com. It did include John Hoven from Mayor's Manor a little bit to begin with, but over time, scheduling and just issues personalities, I don't remember why it didn't work, but it didn't work. So I wound up doing it at the Royal Half. And over time, the Royal Half, we wound up adding, I think at the peak, we had 13, 14, 15 different writers on the site.
Wow.
And the Kings got wind of us. And like, I don't know if you guys know this, but Bark Madness started at theroyalhalf.com. The Name That 70s line started at theroyalhalf.com.
I did not know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that happened from 2010 to 2017-ish that came from the dozen of us that were cranking stuff out at theroyalhalf.com. And I'm not going to take any personal credit for it, but like the Bark Madness stuff was, there was a guy named Flubber. He lives in Kansas City. He wrote an article ranking the dogs of all the Kings on the roster at the time. And he just thought it was a good idea. He didn't know it was going to turn into anything. He was just like, you know what? I'm all the way out here in Kansas City. Team's all the way out there in LA. I got to write articles for this website. I'm going to write an article ranking the dogs because we got access to their social media. So we're going to look at pictures of their dogs and we're going to do it. And then I think I could have this wrong, so apologies if I'm stepping on anybody's idea, but I was always constantly trying to find March Madness substitutes. So like I wanted to do, let's rank all of the goals from the 2012 Cup run. Let's have like a bracket challenge where we like vote on like this goal against that goal and like narrow it down.
I love that idea.
Tons of ideas. Or I also wanted to do like a bracket challenge of like the best masks in LA Kings history, goalie masks, because I was always fighting with Hoven that Stéphane Fizet is the best goalie mask of all time, period, bar none, the end. So I think that what happened was we saw the success of the dog article and how many people liked it. And I think I probably said, hey, why don't we do a bracket challenge of all the dogs? And then it became very popular the first time we did it. And then the Goostles tweet account started up because of the popularity of the thing. And now that's its own thing. So like, that's how it all started is again, a bunch of people who are passionate and creative and loved doing a thing who just collaborated and weren't scared of other people, not liking what they were into. So sorry, it's a very long answer to a very simple question.
That was a great answer. That was intriguing. The whole dog thing, I know that's still going on.
Yes, it is.
Who is like the King's Dog of the Year type thing? Vote for the dogs, right?
The Kings took control of Bark Madness. I don't remember how many years ago, but for the first 5 or 6 years, we ran it at the website. It was our little team, and we handled the voting, and we ran everything, and we worked in conjunction with the Kings, which is how I wound up working for the Kings through the connections made as a result of collaborating with theroyalhalf.com. And yeah, eventually we just said like, okay, it's kind of done with this. And people had kids and jobs and stuff and life to do. And so it was like, all right, well, here you go, Kings. You guys are obviously more invested in this than we are at this point. It was kind of a dumb idea when we started it. And now it's become like a marketing push for them.
I don't think it was a dumb idea at all. I think people
appreciate that.
They all love their dogs. I mean,
honestly, because I'm arrogant, I look at the success of like, what was the name of that bulldog in Washington that was named after Alex Ovechkin? I don't remember the cute name they gave it. But for like the last 10 years, dog content in the NHL has been a thing. And I am convinced it's because of us.
I would probably totally agree with you. I think that's genius. Yeah. Absolute genius. So we'll move on to the next question.
Yeah, sorry. Pat myself on the back a little too hard there, but all right.
You don't know how this is fun. I love stuff about hockey, and this is stuff maybe a lot of people never knew, or if they did, they forgot about. So nothing that you said isn't something that's totally going to be intriguing to hockey fans.
Well, I hope so.
This is season 15 for the podcast. Could you give us some of your favorite highlights other than the dog one?
Sure.
Or the Stanley Cup wins. Let's try to pick.
There are 2 episodes that are no longer available to be publicly consumed for very good reason, and they are my favorites. One, and they're both from the 2014 Cup run. One is Game 7 of the Kings Ducks playoff series. I was not planning on going to that game, but the Royal Half and a bunch of the guys from the royalhalf.com. Sorry, the Royal Half's a person, by the way. So it's weird to always talk about the website and the person.
I've listened to you guys. He calls in just about every
Yeah.
time and talks to you for a bit. So
the half the person calls me up the day of Game 7 and says, "Hey, I know you weren't planning on going to the game, but tickets are stupid cheap. So you should just drive down to Anaheim and go to this Game 7. It's the Kings versus the Ducks. You know, you got to go." And I love telling that story because if either of you can guess how much I paid for my Game 7 Kings Ducks tickets day of, I'll give you a shiny quarter. Like, there's no chance either of you guess how much I paid for that ticket.
Especially it was, it could have been Timu's possible last game, too.
It was.
Well, I know that. Okay. Yeah. I was very devastated that day. That was the main reason I was devastated, because he's my favorite all-time player. But you said it was dirt cheap just to go.
It was way cheaper than it should have been.
Wow. That's a Ducks Kings game, especially the first ever playoff series game.
Game 7.
I'm gonna say what, $350?
No.
Oh, jeez. Less.
Okay, I'm gonna go crazy low, $25.
It was more than 25. It was less than three, whatever you said.
Oh okay. My god.
It was $100.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I just walked in off the street, just bought a ticket, just like that.
Tickets are available. Where were you sitting with that $100?
Upper level. Kings, and I don't remember. I guess it must have been the end they shot on twice, because I remember Jeff Carter streaking in by himself directly at me. Because we were sitting behind the net in the upper level. I mean, they weren't great seats, but that building is well made, so there aren't any bad seats.
Yes, that is true.
But yeah, $100. And this is my argument to everybody forever and always. People in Southern California don't like hockey. The people who do like it very much, and they like it very passionately. But the vast majority of people in Southern California don't even know it exists.
Mm-hmm.
And my evidence is the 2 teams finally played each other in a playoff series 7 years after one of them won the cup, 2 years after the other one won the cup. The Ducks had won this division title, I don't know how many years in a row at that point, maybe just 2, 3, I don't know.
I want to say it was 3 at that time.
Okay, but like Teemu Solani's last game, Kings win the cup in 2012, made it to the Western Conference. Like, that should have been a huge game, and I walked in day of and bought a ticket for $100. No
That's
sweat.
Crazy. I would have never. If you would have told me that, I'm like, no way.
My favorite thing to do to rage bait hockey fans from the East Coast is tell them how much I paid, how much face value was for my tickets to the 2012 Cup final, and just watch them tear their own eyeballs out, because it was less than $100.
Wow.
Now that was face value, but all the same. So anyway, leaving Game 7 to answer your actual question, which was favorite episodes. Leaving that game, we decided to record a post-game episode in the parking lot. So we stood in a circle in the parking lot at the Honda Center. I think, was it still the Honda Center back then, or was it the Aero?
Yeah, it was still Honda Center.
All right.
They changed it, I want to say 07, 08.
I still like calling it the Arrowhead Pond of Anaheim, but whatever.
I still call it the Pond.
It's a great name.
Or the Ponda.
Like that last. But either way, we're standing in the parking lot. We were perhaps enjoying adult beverages during the game, and we were just berating Ducks fans as they walked past us as we were recording in the parking lot. And at one point, a group of Ducks fans who were taking it very well and seemed very pleasant, I called them over and I was like, "Hey, we're doing this post-game podcast. Do you want to join us?" And they came over and talked to us for a while. And people who remember that episode still talk to me about it. It was great. The other episode is after game 2. No, game 4. When did they lose the one game against New York? Was it game 3? Game 4?
I think they won is that the one? No, that was 12 where they won the first 3 games almost against everybody.
Yeah, in 2014, I want to say they were up 3-0 and lost one or something. I don't know, but they lost, and that set it up. And I think I went back and looked at it. It was somewhere between 75 to 90 seconds off the dome, just unfiltered rant about how much I'm tired of hearing about New York in my life, and that I don't like New York, and all the reasons I don't like New York. And it makes me smile and laugh when I go back and listen to it, because I thought it was really good. I didn't know I cared that much about not liking New York, but even as I'm talking about it now, I'm remembering all the reasons I don't like New York.
We're not New York fans either.
Good. Now, having said that, I've been to New York. It's a lovely city. It's perfectly fine. Yes, tons of restaurants and culture and lots of people there, so there's lots of stuff to do. But I don't live there. I don't care. So anyway, now I'm getting mad again.
Yeah, don't get mad.
Yeah, I won't.
So on that game 7, did you stay when Solani skated around the pond and the Ducks?
Probably.
The Kings all stayed out tapping their sticks?
Probably.
Now, what you probably don't know is he is still one of my favorite players of all time, even though he's not a King. I just liked him for his humor and his likability, and he was a great player.
He's an amazing player. I'll tell you a little story about Kings players loving Teemu Selanne, just to make Cody feel better. So last year, the 2014 LA Kings Cup-winning team had their 10th anniversary reunion party. And I was part of a camera crew that got to go to record interviews with them for...
I actually listened to that episode.
So I was asking them loads of questions, not ever knowing what question would get a good answer and what question would not get a good answer, but just sort of shotgunning questions all over the place. And I asked, I won't say the players, I don't want to throw them on the bus, but I asked one player, did it feel good to end the career of Teemu Selanne? And he kind of got upset with me. And he was like, excuse me? Like, Teemu Selanne was great. Like, basically show some respect to Teemu Selanne. And I was like, I agree with you. I'm just sniffing for good answers here. I just want someone to say something that can be put in the video when they make it for, for black and white. But yeah, I clearly overstepped a boundary there. But fortunately, nobody ever saw that exchange because it went straight in the editing room floor.
Well, I have a funny story for you. Cody's soccer coach in high school is a bit, and still is, a big Kings fan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he got tickets for the whole team, and somehow he was able to get me one for like $20 to go to Staples Center, and it was I think a preseason game.
I don't remember.
And they were playing the Ducks, and they had this Russian guy in this.
No, that was just when you and I and Tim went. That wasn't the whole soccer team.
So I got it mixed up. Well, anyways, we were sitting there watching the game, and this Russian guy gets up, and he's really foul-mouthed, and Tim was pretty young. You were what?
My younger brother, by the way, his name is Tim.
Like 10, and he was yelling obscenities at Selanne, and to me, I respect him. And I would never want to say anything bad about him. You could say anything about any other Duck you wanted, but I turned around and said, you better pick on somebody else or I'm coming up there. And he shut up and picked on somebody else. But man, that guy would, I don't know, maybe he's known.
No, apparently he starts a lot of the chants because my soccer coach warned me because he sat with all the season ticket holders because he had season tickets. And he's like, by the way, there's a Russian guy. He's like, just be careful around him. He likes to start chants and he doesn't care. And sure enough, I knew right away because when we got to our seats, he had a Wild Wing doll, same one that I had growing up, and he had Wild Wing with a rope around it hanging. And I'm like,
now I know. I know who we're talking about.
Yeah. Oh, you know.
Now I know exactly who we're talking about.
So I was 17, 18 at the time. So pretty much my soccer coach, whenever he had tickets and he couldn't go to the game, he would text everyone on the soccer team, whoever texts first gets it. I was the only one that ever texted him, so he'd only ask me. Like I said, I love hockey first. I took so many different people to Kings games those 2 years I played for him in high school. So I guess I just love going to games. I took my grandpa, I took him, I took some other friends, all during school nights too, all the way to LA. But like I said, just love going to games. And yeah, I got used to the Russian guy.
Yeah, well, I guess he's famous, huh?
Well, I'm pretty sure Jesse's been around the game long enough. He knows a lot of those people.
I mean, I don't know him enough to say hi, but I mean, I've seen him.
Yeah.
The image of the duck in the noose is,
Yeah, and I saw that, I'm like, oh, that must be the guy he was. And then I heard the accent, I'm like, oh, that's definitely him.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I laughed about the Wild Wing, but I didn't like Solani because I had too much respect for him as a person because they got me a birthday present, a cameo, and it was Timu Solani.
Okay.
And he actually knew I was a Kings fan. He was very kind. He even talked about how much he appreciated the whole Kings team honoring him on his last game and talked about that. And
this is one of the great pains of my existence as a Kings fan. The Ducks shouldn't exist.
Well, it's all Bruce McNall's.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean by they shouldn't exist. He sold his territorial control for cash because he was cash strapped, and that's the only reason the Ducks. I mean, it's not the only reason, but that's the primary reason the Ducks exist. So it's always painful when somebody says like, "Yeah, well, the Ducks fans this or Ducks fans that," and it's like, yeah, they should have been Kings fans.
They should have been, yeah, but unfortunately, California's got 3 teams now.
Yeah, it's silly, but what are you going to do?
But let's move on to something else.
Sure.
I mean, I think we've already kind of hit on some of your favorite Kings moments. Or do you have something else you'd like to say?
Favorite Kings moments or favorite all the Kings men moments? Because Kings moments, I mean, there's tons
obviously
of them.
Do you have a couple favorites you want to share?
I mean, obviously the Cup win.
Of course.
Goes to the top of the list. For me, watching Dustin Brown score the empty netter to seal the sweep against St. Louis, that to me is almost better than the Cup win. Or it's a lot closer than you might think it would be. I
thought you were going to say Alec Martinez's overtime winner.
I wasn't there.
Oh.
Which is harmful to me. I don't like saying it. I don't like remembering that I wasn't there.
Trust me. I give my dad crap about the Lakers championship parade. He promised me we would go. He's like, well, if they win it next year, I'll take you. They won the next year. We never went.
Is that when LeBron won it?
No, I don't care about LeBron. I'm talking about when Kobe was there.
I mean, because LeBron ruins the Lakers for me. So
yeah, let's not talk about LeBron on this podcast.
Honestly, most of my favorite moments are the obvious ones, and then there's just private stuff thrown in, like when I was diagnosed with cancer last year, getting having members of the organization reach out to me. Personally, that was cool. Or getting to go to the 2012 and 2014 reunion shows, and as corny as it might sound, getting to be part of the whole thing and having people come up and say, like, somebody recently told me at a game, a fan came up and said, the team has had an incredible run of broadcasters, Bob Miller and Jiggs McDonald and Nick Nixon and Jim Fox and Darrell Evans and blah, blah, blah. And then they included me in that run. And like, I certainly don't think of myself first of all, I don't think of myself as a Kings broadcaster. And I certainly don't think of myself as being on par with those guys.
I would have to disagree with you on that. I mean, because
I appreciate that. I still don't see myself that way, but I appreciate it.
Even if I don't listen to sometimes there'll be 3 days I listen to all the Kings men on a podcast going to and from work, or if I'm driving for work, which I do sometimes. You will be part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not like I always keep up right on the same days, but sometimes it's like I'll have to binge listen to all the Kings.
The trick
men.
I use is I put everything on speed and a half, 1.5 playback speed, so that you get through it faster. I will say this, one of the things, and I still get to do it, it's still a treat. We just recorded one last week. when I get to sit down for an hour 15 minutes with Jim Fox, and whether it's Nick Nixon or in this case John Kelly, I get to sit down and just talk to them.
Yeah.
And I get to set the conversational, outline. That is the biggest treat for me. Like, I get to sit down with the guys who call the games and say, like, okay, this is what I want to talk about. And then we do for an hour.
Well, Cody asked me, because he does a lot of not recruiting, but reaching out to people.
I do all of it.
So Cody's the producer. I got you.
Oh,
I do everything. He just shows up pretty much.
Sure. That's the life.
Well, you didn't want to do a podcast alone, if that be the truth. And we tried to find him another Ducks person, because we know some, and none of them would do it. And then I came with a revelation. How many rivalry podcasts do you have? It would be something different.
Yeah. I don't know that there are that many. I guess Eddie and Doug might be like the only one.
Yeah, but they do a whole NHL, not just Ducks and Kings or a rival.
Right.
So, and then, we were trying to come up with the name, and I walked out of Palomar Pomerado Hospital in San Diego, and Royally Quack came in my head. I called him immediately when I got to the car. He loved the name, and it's still there.
There you go.
So, I mean, we both have collaboration, although I got to say all the technical stuff is him. It's not me. He does a fantastic job. I feel so blessed that I could do this with my kid. I mean, I brag about it all the time. How many people their kid actually wants to spend that much time with them? And I feel so blessed that he wants to spend that time with me, even though we disagree on our teams.
Well, look, there you go. Even though you did something horribly wrong to wind up with 3 kids that root for the wrong team, at least they still like you. So you did something right. So there you go.
Like, to be honest, like, I didn't even tell my dad I messaged you. So you agreed, and then I told him.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was a surprise. Like, I surprised him with getting Eddie Garcia on, too. Like, I almost did not tell him until I added Eddie into StreamYard.
Oh.
But I guess Eddie was having audio issues, so I was like, oh, I guess I'm ruining the surprise.
Right.
And my dad was like, literally, like, just speechless to start the podcast, because I surprised him.
I'm glad he told me beforehand, because I'd have been speechless with you too.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you talk about the 2 Kings guys I listen to, it's you and Eddie all the time.
Well, I appreciate that.
So you do event, and you're so different. Like I said, you come with ideas that are just so different. Like I said, like the tie game going to overtime.
Which I believe I said on Eddie's show.
It might have been.
It was.
It might have been.
I remember it. Yeah, it definitely was.
I go, when I saw that, it's like a light went on, and I go, I feel better about those losses and wins now after the way you explained it.
For those who may not have, sorry, this is just my host genes kicking in, but for those who may not know what he's talking about, I said to Eddie, when we were talking about whether or not games should end a certain way, I don't even remember how we got onto the topic, but I just said, listen, an overtime game or a shootout game ended in a tie. 60 minutes of hockey was played. The score was tied. Both teams got a point. That was a tie. You watched a tie. And then the stuff that happened afterwards, that's just a second event that occurred to distribute another point.
Right.
That's exactly what happened. The Kings and the Canucks played last night to a tie. And then there was some goofy stuff that happened, and they gave out a second point. But Vancouver didn't, or the Kings, I guess. The Kings didn't win that game. That game ended in a tie. And then there was some make-believe that happened, and they decided that the Kings should get a second point.
Yeah. But see, I love that.
Yeah.
And you do that.
Glad somebody likes my nonsense.
It makes complete sense, too.
Well, and you're not afraid to tell everybody just sometimes how you feel. I mean, it's not necessarily a negative thing, but I mean, hey, I don't like that. We're not going to go with that. And then you stick by your guns, and I just, you do it, and you do it well.
Thank you.
I don't find you ever to be offensive. But I'll
have to try a little harder.
I'm pretty offended what you've said to me so far this month.
Well, then it's working.
Yeah. So you're fine.
So Did you want to ask any of these questions, Cody, or am I just going to do it?
So, well, I mean, it is more of a Kings one, but I mean, I did come up with a lot of the questions that we have.
Yes.
But so what are your thoughts on the Kings so far this season, just after American Thanksgiving?
I honestly don't know.
That's fair.
It is fair.
So I was just talking to my dad this morning about it, and it's tough for me when he and I disagree because, you know, when we started out, he knew way more about the team and about the sport than I do because I was, 8 years old or something. But now he lives 3,000 miles away and he's got, you know, his own life and he watches the games, you know, late at night on cable. And I'm in my late 40s and I worked there for 10 years and I know the people and I have spent just an inordinately more amount of time thinking about the sport. And as you said, Gary, I have my opinions and I don't like to back off of them. So when he says something to me like about last night's game, well, hey, like at least they won. That's the bottom line. And my takeaway is, nah, man. That's not the takeaway. The takeaway is that was the worst win I've ever watched. It's hard for me to have that conversation. Sorry, Dad, if you're watching this.
I hope he does.
So, well,
hi, Mr. Cohen, if he is.
Mr. Cohen.
So
we love your son.
But this year, there's a lot of that stuff going on this year. I think last year was their 12th overtime game in 25 games, I think, something like that.
Last night was 13.
It's almost half.
Okay.
And, you know, like
maybe
I said,
it was 12.
For my money, those games that ended in wins for the Kings, they count as wins in the standings. But in my mind, that's ties. Those are ties. They've tied half their games. And I don't know what the record is in games that they didn't go to overtime. But listen, the power play is awful.
Yeah.
And I thought after the Boston game, when Jim Hiller said what he said to the media, that was an acknowledgement from the team that the power play was awful and something had to change. And then it didn't change. And then he said what he said last night after the Vancouver game. And now I'm even more confused. But it is just awful, right? There's no point in pretending anymore. I looked it up this morning for a different project. The league has been tracking net power play percentage since, I want to say, 1977, 1978. For anybody who doesn't know what net power play percentage is, that's the power play success rate, and then you factor in shorthanded goals scored against you. So Kings' net power play percent, I believe, is at 9 right now. Single digit 9. I am pretty sure if that's not the worst since 1977, it's in the worst. It's in like the top 5 worst of all time. Everything else they do is either excellent or fine, right? Like defensively, they're great. Penalty kill, they're great. Goaltending, they're fine. Sometimes great. Depends on what night you catch them at. But the game of hockey is played across all 3 zones, not just in one zone. And I said this last night on the postgame show. I expect the team to make the playoffs. It's not a foregone conclusion because this is a weird season and everybody's bunched up. But I would expect the Kings to make the playoffs. So when I'm evaluating the team right now, I'm not evaluating it on, oh man, we need points to make the playoffs, so points accumulated good. I take it as a foregone conclusion. They're going to make the playoffs. So now I'm looking at, are they building to something? Do they look like they're rounding into a team that can actually compete once they make the playoffs? And if the power play is going to play like that, the simple answer is no, not even remotely. And that's upsetting because then they go out on the penalty kill and they look gangbusters. So yeah, simple answer is I have no idea what to make of this team after Thanksgiving. They're tied for first place with the Crummy Ducks, so that's great. But I don't know.
I'm loving this already.
Nothing
I'm gonna
I've
keep
heard
doing
before.
it, by the way, until you tell me to stop.
It's nothing I've heard before, so you're fine.
Sure.
I've heard a lot worse. We used to umpire baseball, like with travel ball. So trust me, we've heard a lot worse.
It's honestly it's one step forward, one step back with this team.
Yeah, in first place, and we're not happy.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like this is a stat that I sort of stumbled onto the other day. I heard somebody else say it and I've become obsessed with it. It changes, the actual numbers shift every day. But as of right now, when we're recording this, The Colorado Avalanche have 42 points. They're in first place. The Carolina Hurricanes have 32 points. They're in sixth place. So there's 10 points separating first place from sixth place. If you drop another 10 points from 32 points down to 22 points, you go from sixth place to 31st place. So like that's how close it is. And the Kings are 10th and the Ducks are 8th. So people go like, well, first place, whatever. And I go, yeah, but what it means is they're not in that top 6 teams or it's really just Tampa, Dallas, and Colorado. But Jersey and Minnesota are sort of hanging around. Then Carolina and Washington are tied with 32. And then there's 25 teams that are just bunched up. And I don't know.
Yeah, it's been kind of an upside down season, the way I see it. So
I feel like this is the first year that, like, with Elliot Friedman saying, like, if you're within 4 points of a playoff spot, you're almost guaranteed, or 77% of you're making the playoffs. But I feel like this is the 1 year it's like that's like exempt.
Yeah, no,
everyone is so close.
Yeah, the stat is if you're in a playoff spot by Thanksgiving, you're in, right, or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean,
look like 77% of the teams make it.
Yeah, the Sharks, Oilers, Jets, Blackhawks, Blues are within 2 points of a playoff spot right now.
Yeah. I feel like this is like the 1 year.
That's like, and in the East, the Islanders, Senators, Red Wings, and Rangers are all within 1 point of a playoff. The Islanders are tied with the Penguins for a playoff spot. So it's like, who knows? There's only really one bad team, and it's Nashville, or I guess 2, maybe Nashville and Calgary. Vancouver looks like they might be going for a dive, but even they're only 4 points out of a playoff spot. No, it's a bizarre season. I don't know what to make of it. I hate it. I don't like it.
Yeah, didn't we go 0 for 3 on the power play against the team that's worst in penalty kill?
I think so did we.
I don't want to.
I mean, it was
gonna make me in a bad mood.
It was awful last. Well, yeah, I've been in a bad mood.
Yeah,
and we're tied for first place, and and his team. I watch them and I'm going, they got to be as happy as can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we're tied for first with them, and I'm not happy.
I said to somebody, I don't remember when I said it. I say too many things to too many people now. I think part of the discomfort in the Kings season is the fact that it is Anaheim in first place. You know, if Vegas was in first place, if like Vegas and Edmonton were just out ahead and the Kings were sort of hanging around in third place and it was like, well, 1 step forward, 1 step back. We're trying to figure out the identity. I'm not really sure, but like they were solidly in third. I think it would feel familiar and you'd go like, okay, well, at least I know this script. But Anaheim's in first place. And I don't know what to make of it.
Is like you guys are going into so many overtime games where games you should have won and they got forced into overtime.
That's a huge part of it for sure. But I just mean like it's looking at the standings and you go, okay, well, who are we competing with right now? Anaheim, Seattle, Utah, San Jose. Oh yeah, and also Vegas and Edmonton. And it's like, okay, so these 3 teams that should have been out of the picture, have been out of the picture for the last couple of years, are suddenly now serious threats to hold playoff spots. And but then in the back of mind, you also have the familiar threats of Vegas and Edmonton. So it's like if Vegas and Edmonton ever figure out what's ailing them and they go ahead and take their rightful spots, and now you have Anaheim, San Jose, Utah, Seattle, like all of a sudden very quickly becomes, well, the Kings should have made the playoffs, but will they? I don't know. And it's just unsettling to me anyway.
That's if all the teams like Seattle and even Anaheim, like I said, as a Ducks fan, even I know is what we're doing right now is not sustainable. That's my opinion. Like Anaheim, Seattle, Chicago, San Jose, I don't think things could change with them pretty quick too. Yeah,
but every day that it sustains, the concept of it being unsustainable gets a little bit harder to swallow. Now there was 1 year I think the Ducks were in first place into like late December or something and then just fell off a cliff.
Yeah, that was a year or 2 ago. 2 years ago? Yeah.
I feel like
I remember that. They did fall off a cliff.
Recent memory, but it was like, oh my God, well, are they good? And then the answer very quickly was, no, they're not.
I think that was the year we picked up Minchikov. I want to say. I think it was like 22.
Sounds right.
21, 22.
Yeah.
So it could be one of those situations, but the fact that it's, again, 70% of the league that
Yeah.
are fighting for those spots means, okay, fine. 4 or 5 teams might fall off, but 4 or 5 teams might spring forward.
True.
And you just have to hope that the Kings are one of them. But if they keep getting scored on the friggin' power play, they're not going to be.
Yeah.
So, we'll move on to another question.
Yeah,
What are
sorry.
your No, that's okay. That was great. I mean, what are your thoughts on why no big name free agents sign with the Kings?
I don't believe it. Those are my
You don't-
thoughts.
You don't believe?
I reject the premise out of hand, and I've had this fight on multiple platforms. I even got so pissed off this summer. This is what a lunatic I am. Plus, I was dealing with chemo, so I had tons of time on my hand. I actually went back and looked at all of the big free agent signings over the last 15 years, and I don't have the file anymore. But if I ran down the names of who was the biggest free agent signing in 2007 or 2015, there aren't that many big name guys that move in free agency. So people talk about it as if nobody wants to sign in LA. What's going wrong? Why is it? Is it the market? Is it the team? Is it state taxes? And the reality is we're talking about 2 guys spread out over 30 years. Because free agency didn't even show up in the NHL till the 90s. Then from 2010 to 2018, the Kings weren't even in the free agent market because they were constantly adding veterans to go for the cup wins. Right, they get Lucic in a trade. They're not signing. Right, you're not going to sign. First of all, sorry. Oh man, you triggered me. So big name free agents means big forwards, big defensemen, or big goalies. Right. So you're not signing a big name forward when you've got Andrzej Kopitar, Jeff Carter, Dustin Brown, Justin Williams winning cups back to back to back. You're not going to get a goalie when you've got Jonathan Quick, and you're not going after a big name defenseman when you've got Drew Doughty. Maybe you might go after a big left shot defenseman, but you're already paying a ton of time and money to one guy. So that 10-year window is out of the conversation. Of course,
Correct.
The Kings didn't sign a big name free agent from 2010 to 2018. That's not where they were. Then from 2018 to 2022, they were terrible.
Yeah,
How are you going to convince a good player? So now we're 14 years into this experiment, where 14 out of 30, by the way, because unrestricted free agency didn't exist until I want to say 96, 97, somewhere like that. So then you start looking at, okay, who are the names that actually signed with other teams? And you start whittling it down and you go, okay, Brad Richards went to, was it Dallas, New York, wherever he went? Zdeno Chara went to Boston instead of LA. And there are some examples, but then you go, okay, Ilya Kovalchuk signed with the Devils instead of LA, but it turns out the Devils broke the rules to get him and were punished for it. So that's not really a fair comparison. A lot of the players we're talking about are Europeans who, for whatever reason, said they wanted to play on the East Coast. So nothing to be done about that. LA exists where it is. And then you start looking at who are the actual big names signed in free agency, and I hadn't even heard of some of them. Going back and looking at who the actual biggest contracts signed in some of these years were guys I'd never heard of, or they were total busts, or they were guys that signed a huge contract and then turned out to be nothing. So listen, Andrzej Kopitar re-upped here, Drew Doughty re-upped here, Adrian Kempe re-upped here, Jonathan Quick signed a 10-year contract extension when he was here. Phil Deneau signed here, Alex Edler signed. To me, it's people who want to make a big deal out of something that isn't a big deal, to me personally.
So on another level of that, Kopitar is retiring.
Yes, he is.
And how strong are the centers that we have right now?
Not strong.
So would that possibly become maybe a way to fill those roles in the incoming years? Just a thought. That question was there for that more than anything else.
So this is all I ever talk about.
We might need to be that to be competitive next year.
No, they definitely need a replacement. I have begun calling it a replacement for Quentin Byfield because the assumption is that Quentin Byfield is the replacement for Andrzej Kopitar. Now, no disrespect to Quentin Byfield, but replacing Andrzej Kopitar with Quentin Byfield is a regression.
Right.
Because the best version of Andrzej Kopitar is 1,000 times better than the best version that we've seen so far of Quentin Byfield. It's possible that Quentin Byfield will evolve into a player who is better than the best version of Andrzej Kopitar, but that's how good Andrzej Kopitar has been.
Exactly. Agreed.
He's incredible. So we're already taking a slight regression in replacing Andrzej Kopitar with Quentin Byfield, and that's no disrespect to Quentin Byfield. That is all respect for Andrzej Kopitar. Now you have to replace Quentin Byfield. And there's only 3 ways that you can do that. Internally, free agent, or trade. It's 2 ways, I suppose, externally, and then you can divide externally into 2 ways. So you got an internal promotion, bring in a player from outside via trade or via free agency. We've seen the free agent market. It's going to be dry.
Yeah, pretty much dry now.
Yes. I mean, it's possible that some name sneaks out there that nobody knew, but it's not likely. Internally, I don't see a lot of strong candidates. I don't see any candidates, frankly.
Not at center.
Yeah, which basically leaves trade. And then trade, you have to sort of bank on a number of things breaking your way. You have to hope that an acceptable candidate is available, the other team wants, and the other team is willing to trade for what you are willing to part with.
Right.
Because I personally, there's one player in the league that I would trade every single asset the LA Kings own, including the building, to acquire, and that's Connor McDavid. There's no price I wouldn't pay to get Connor McDavid. And having said that, I don't think it would work. I don't think it would make them contenders. I don't think it would help them to win the cup. I just think it would be exciting and entertaining. So I
could see that point totally, because you'd have to give up so much. We wouldn't.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do it anyways. He would veto the trade
but I'd still do it. I would literally trade Bailey.
Because he signed a 2-year contract with Edmonton because he's not truly believing that they can be competitive.
Outside of Connor McDavid, I don't want to trade futures. I think the goaltending crop the Kings has incredible
fantastic
potential. I know who I think is going to come out on top, but I'm perfectly aware of the fact that I could be wrong. I just hope they don't trade the wrong goalie for the wrong stuff. Because eventually they're going to have to trade 2 of the 4 goalies they've got in the pipeline, at least, if not 3. I mean, ideally you'd trade 3 because one of them just Jonathan Quicks it. But I don't like if it turns out that they trade Carter George, Liam Greentree, and a first to get, I don't know who's this, Nathan McKinnon or whatever. I'm just making stuff up here.
He's pretty good.
He is, but I mean, obviously I'm just making stuff. I mean, like McKinnon and McDavid are obviously the 2 primary targets, but they're not going anywhere. But if you trade a bunch of futures for a replacement for guys leaving, I feel like the franchise has painted itself into an ever shrinking corner, and eventually you just have to accept that it didn't work. And this is, to me, this year is sort of it. Like, this is it. You put all your eggs in this basket. This is the corner you've painted yourself into. The corner is shaped like 2025-26. So let's see. Does it work? It might. Who knows? And if it does, that'll be great. The 3rd ring for Kopitar on his way out the door. That'd be a hell of a lot better final chapter than Timo Solani had. Sorry, I had to get one in there. It had been a while. But if it doesn't work, I just don't know what your solutions are, because
you don't want to trade away the future.
No, and everybody's getting older. They're already the oldest team in the league. So
yes. So I guess we agree totally on that aspect. I would not be trading futures just to try to do something for 1 year, because I think it's going to make us bad for a long time. And we've been in that market already.
Yeah,
I went through it.
The price of 2012 and 2014 was 2016 through 2022. That was the actual ticket price. And I was fine with it, right? When they were losing and terrible and they started to rebuild, I was like, you know what? That's fine. I got to see the Kings win the Stanley Cup twice, and the penalty is that they traded away all their young players and they traded away 1st-round picks trying to chase another one, and it didn't work. So, okay, this is what we have to pay for it. I think they took out a second mortgage in 2022. They didn't have to keep paying that price, but I think that they are still paying the price for 2012, 2014 today.
I agree.
Because in 2022, they said, you know what? We're almost free and clear, but we're just going to take out another loan and just keep doing this.
Do you think that was the wrong? Because in my opinion, I think the Kings should have been bad for maybe 1 or 2 more years to kind of get that prospect pool a little bit heavier before what you, as you said, took out that mortgage.
I think it's that, and also, and I've had this fight with I've made this point a number of different times, and I'm not sure how many people agree with me. Quentin Byfield and Brandt Clark cannot be Andrzej Kopitar and Drew Doughty if Andrzej Kopitar and Drew Doughty are still Andrzej Kopitar and Drew Doughty.
True.
Yeah.
Like, that just can't happen. Andrzej Kopitar and Drew Doughty were allowed to become Andrzej Kopitar and Drew Doughty because there was nobody in their way when they took over. The number one thing that Dean Lombardi had going for him when he started as GM of the Kings in 2006 was that there was nothing to contend with. There was no franchise history. There was no success history. There was no bad contracts lying around preventing guys from playing. You know, Brian Burke tells this story when he was GM of the Ducks about taking Getzlaf and Perry and sending them back to the minors a year before they finally cracked through. And he said the locker room was toxic. And he didn't say it meaning that the guys in the room were bad guys or that there was anything wrong with the locker room. He just says, like, that wasn't the right environment for those two young players to come into.
Correct.
So he sent them down, he waited a year, and they came back up. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Kings locker room. I don't think it's full of bad guys. I just think if you're like, why isn't Brandt Clark your number one defenseman? Why is your second overall center pick in his D+6 year or whatever it is, D+5 year? I lost track. He's played just as many games as a wing, I feel like, as he has as a center.
Yeah.
Like,
this is his second year at center.
Yeah, that's crazy. And like Brandt Clark, you know, yes, when Drew Doughty's injured, he's playing more minutes, but plenty of nights he's getting the sixth most minutes on the team. And people say, well, he's young, he's developing, you know, defensemen develop at different speeds or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, fine. But point to me, and I'm, you know, I say this sincerely. I'm not trying to say this in a snarky way to say that it's never happened before, but like, I genuinely can't think of a number one defenseman who slowly over time developed into a number one defenseman behind another number one defenseman, and then one day graduated into the spot. And there was like this peaceful transition of power. And I will put it to you, Gary and Cody, because I suspect you follow other sports closer than I do. Name me a superstar, all-star, Hall of Fame athlete who played the same position on a team, any sport, same position as another Hall of Fame, all-star, superstar player, that there was a peaceful transition of power from one to the other.
I can almost think of one.
Let's hear it.
The Green Bay Packers with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
I'm so glad that you suggested that, because that's the one that everybody comes up with. And here's what I will say. Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre hated each other, and Brett Favre had to leave for Aaron Rodgers to become Aaron Rodgers.
Well, you know, the funny thing is, it happened with Rodgers and Jordan Love.
Aaron Rodgers hated Jordan Love, and Aaron Rodgers had to leave before Jordan Love was allowed to become Jordan Love.
I'm not saying Jordan Love is in the same category as Rodgers, but he's not bad.
No, but that's the point. Is that, like, you can say Joe Montana and Steve Young. Yes, there's tons of quarterback examples, but they all involve the elder statesman vacating the position. It's, you know, or like in Boston or in New England, excuse me, I forget who the quarterback was before Tom Brady.
Bledsoe.
Bledsoe gets hurt, right? And Tom Brady sort of takes his spot. It wasn't a peaceful transition of power. We don't have, you know, Magic Johnson was the point guard on the Lakers, and then they drafted some incredible young point guard, and slowly over time, Magic Johnson mentored him to replace him. Or, the Chicago Bulls had a two guard who slowly learned under the tutelage of Michael Jordan. And then when Michael Jordan retired, it was a seamless transition of this team that had been built around Michael Jordan to the next version. Like, it doesn't happen that way.
It doesn't happen that way 99% of the time.
It cannot, right? Like, the Kings have been built around, in some form or another, the bones of that cup win from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And you can't build a new foundation if the old foundation is still there.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see if Byfield flies next year.
I mean, now that what Jesse's saying kind of makes a little bit more sense, because like look what happened with the Ducks this year. There's no one in front of Leo Carlson, and look how he's thriving. So I get now that you said that, I'm like, wow. I think Cronin was the one that was really holding.
There's
Carlson
a friend
back.
of mine who said when the Blackhawks traded Patrick Kane, he immediately called me and he said, I guarantee you that between the Kings, the Penguins, and the Blackhawks, the teams that were, that all sort of rebuilt at about the same time, right? The Penguins
Yeah.
had Crosby, Malkin, Fleury, Letang. The Kings had Doughty, Kopitar, Brown, etc., and the Blackhawks had Taves, Kane, Antiniemi,
Keith.
Crawford, Keith. Yeah, thank you, and all those guys. They all sort of the lockout of 2004-2005 sort of corresponded perfectly with their rebuilding efforts, right? So the Penguins luck out and get Crosby. Kings luck out and Kopitar falls because all the teams ahead of them were dumb, except for Pittsburgh, including Anaheim. Ha ha ha.
I know. No, I agree with you 100%.
But yeah, so he called me up as soon as the Blackhawks traded Patrick Kane, and he said, I guarantee you the Blackhawks will be, of those three teams, they'll be the first one back to being good consistently. Because they're the ones who are most comfortable cutting ties to the past. And it's tough. I don't love it. And having said that, I have no regrets on my end. I think it's great that players play their entire career with one team. I think it's great that Timo Solani finished as a Duck, and I think it's great that Andrzej Kopitar is going to finish as a King. I think there's value in having fans connect to players who stick it out. But if you want to know why, there's like these things aren't happening, I think it's pretty simple. Like, you can't, I had this one conversation, and I'll put this question to you guys. Sorry, as I totally take over your show. The question was, and it was had at the King's office. I said, what does an NHL player have to do today? And let's just say this was 2023, 24. What would an NHL player have to do today to gain multi-continental mainstream fame?
Wow.
Like, what would an NHL player have to do to become as famous as Michael Jordan?
Well, they'd have to dominate.
Connor McDavid dominates.
Or
What?
just win.
Tons of people win.
Hmm.
The only thing I could come up with was date Taylor Swift. And the reason I thought to link, and the reason I could think of to link these two.
Or the hockey version is Tate McRae, I think.
Tate McRae ain't Taylor Swift. Here's the difference.
In
My
hockey
80-year-old
world,
mother
she is.
knows who Taylor Swift is. She doesn't know who Tate McRae is.
True.
And the problem with dating Taylor Swift is, and this is what made me think of it, there's only one Taylor Swift. And I'm of the opinion that there won't be another one, because I think the internet has sort of fractured the way fandoms work and the way that mass media culture works. And so it's almost impossible these days to get that kind of universal awareness of something. And so it's kind of it. So there ain't going to be another Taylor Swift. Before Taylor Swift, there was I guess Britney Spears, and before her there was Madonna. There's like a pretty clear progression of one star at a time, and then now we're in a period where there are no stars. Or I guess Taylor Swift is, but once she's done, I think that'll be it.
What's his name? Was dating is married to Carrie Underwood.
Yeah, you don't even know his name, dude.
Fisher, Mike
Okay,
Fisher.
they're married.
Yeah. I knew at the time. It's funny because I was just talking about it with someone.
They got divorced.
Maybe they did. The fact that we don't know sort of proves my point.
No, they're still together. I literally looked it up like a week or so ago. I forgot who I was talking to about. But yeah.
Outside of Nashville, nobody cares about the Underwoods.
True.
Yeah, you know what? I think hockey's trying. They're coming up with more clever commercials to bring people in. I mean, the one with Crosby and Fleury was pretty good. I don't know if you've seen it.
Is that when when Fleury disguises himself as Sidney Crosby and steals his stuff?
Yes.
I haven't seen it, but that sounds funny.
Yeah, I mean, the NHL's trying.
Right, but isn't Marc-Andre Fleury retired?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he is.
Now, until Edmonton calls.
Sure. Well,
but if
Anyway, the point of all that was I don't know what the Kings are going to do about Kopitar. Sorry, it was a totally long jag on a simple answer.
It makes sense what you say, because especially like what I was just saying with the Leo Carlson thing. There's nobody in front of him, and look how he's going.
Yeah.
So and we were all trying to get him to be the number one center.
He's incredible.
We saw what he could do, but there was just no runway for him. Now he has the runway, and now he's thriving.
Yeah.
Same with Bedard right now too.
And Fantilli and Celebrini. I mean, honestly, I thought the Ducks were silly for taking Carlson over Fantilli. I think a lot of people thought that. Turns out none of us knows what we're talking about.
Well, I mean, I already knew that. I already know I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh,
that's why
I thought you were saying, I don't know what I'm talking about. Wow.
No. Well, I mean, you've jabbed at me this whole time. But
Fair enough.
But I mean, honestly, like, I was shocked they took Carlson.
Yeah.
But then again, I think there was just more hype around Fantilli than there was Carlson. And I always trusted Martin Madden with the Ducks.
Yeah.
And I think that was a big choice that he made as well.
Well, I think, and part of this is just that I was born in Canada, so I grew up identifying as Canadian, which is silly. But I have always thought, and I've yelled at Hoven about this a number of times, I think Americans are so insecure and desperate for Americans to be good at things that they can't handle it when like a European player comes in and is good, as the best option at something. Like, I've heard people complain that like in the NBA, oh no, the best 5 players in the league are all European. So what? Like, they're popular, they're good, they keep winning, they keep winning the MVP. The best players in the NHL are Swedish one year, so who cares? Like,
well,
it's not like Mario Lemieux hung out in Long Beach and and was an American citizen who spoke with a Southern twang. Like,
well, our leading player for both of our cups was a guy from Europe.
So here's a fun podcast detail. In that cup run in 2012, I think it was either Greg Wyshynski or Jeff Merrick. I don't remember, but one of them had me on their show to talk about the unforeseen Kings run, and I think it must have been Wyshynski, and he asked me if the fact that the Kings were having this unbelievable success was because they had the most Canadians on the roster. And I said no, I think the success is because the Kings have the most Slovenians on their roster.
There you go.
Because
how many different Slovenians did you have? Just the one?
Yeah, he was the only one in the league.
Okay, that's what I was like. Wait,
Yeah.
I'm like, you had multiple. I was like, I can only count Kopitar.
That was it. I'm pretty sure he's still the only one in the league. I could be wrong about that, but
yeah.
Turns out he was a real good.
Thank God, 10 teams after Crosby,
Yeah,
or 9
no kidding.
teams didn't select him.
Yeah,
because he'd be number 2 in a redraft for sure.
Oh, 100%.
And then he would be a Duck. But yeah, I know. Well, I mean, that's how we feel about Corey Perry right now.
Sure. Yeah, how is that? Is that weird? I mean, I know it must be weird, but
when I first heard the news, I don't know why. Like, I was disgusted, but I was also laughing at the same time.
Wow, all right.
Well, just because like just seeing him in a Kings uniform, I was like, ugh, like really. But then I also, because I usually have a very wicked sense of humor, I would say, where I also had to think about, especially knowing Eddie Garcia, knowing that Kings fans now had to root for Corey Perry. That was like the second thought that came into my mind. I was like, now they have to root for Corey Perry after all these years.
I think
those were my first 2 thoughts.
I think there was just enough distance between the Ducks and the Kings that for me anyway, it made it easier to take. The bigger issue for me is, hey, he's an Oiler.
Especially the last 2 years.
Yeah, which is weird because like he's Corey Perry, but
yeah.
And also, honestly, and I'm sorry, not sorry, I don't care about the Ducks that much.
No, that's fine. I don't care.
Like, I had this conversation with somebody recently where they were like, yeah, the Kings and the Ducks are a rivalry. And I was like, no, the Kings and the Sharks are a rivalry. The Ducks are the other team that happens to play in Southern California.
I think Friday really showed us that it's more Ducks versus Kings now in a rivalry than Kings and Sharks.
I mean,
I think they're going to be both.
So
both of them are going to be battles this year.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've split with the Sharks this year, We lost in overtime.
Well,
Or shootout.
What games haven't you been in overtime? First of all,
Well, the thing is we just got to win it in overtime because we're terrible at the shootout most of the
or
time.
you could just win it.
Yeah.
I mean, we are. I mean, the last shootout loss that shot Kempe, who's one of the first guys to go out, looked like, me skating out there trying to score a goal. It just was a pathetic attempt.
I don't know what's going on.
I mean, Fiala had Huso beat on that one on the shootout. He just beat everything but the post.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how much more free time you have with us.
I got nothing but time. I can see how much time we've been going. I don't want to run your show 2 hours into the ground.
No, you want to ask one more question, then we'll get out of here, Dad?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Oh, you picked the last one. It's your guest.
Well, I think this is the one I think we're probably gonna be most excited about. It'll be the last question. Are you excited for any upcoming prospects in the King system, excluding Carter, George, and Liam Greentree?
No.
Those are the two obvious ones.
I know, but I'm so excited for Carter George.
Well, let's change that subject.
Okay, well, we saw him in the rookie face-off.
Yeah.
In the
Were you there? We were there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had Daryl standing right behind us for a while.
I can come up with other prospects to talk about.
Carter George, like, he was the reason you guys won that game.
So I will just say this very quickly about Carter George. I am of the opinion that the industry is slowly being ruined by people who hyperfixate on technical ability. Because it has created a cottage industry of people whose livelihood depends on being specialty coaches and specialty analysts and draft specialists, where they go, well, his, lateral movement is 2.3% better than the blah, 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 or this guy's this tall, or he can skate that good. And I just go, okay, fine. I don't care about any of that. Can he play hockey? Is he good at hockey? Kelly Buchberger was one of the least physically gifted people I ever watched in my life, and dude could play hockey. So Carter George has, he's short. I don't care. He makes saves.
Yeah.
Right. When he's out there, he plays incredible. So that's why I'm excited about Carter George. And I've spoken to him a number of times, and he is sharp as a tack. He's personable. He's smart. He's comfortable in his own skin. I just have the utmost faith in that young man to become the peak version of himself. And that is an ability that right, never gets talked about in the analytics or the scouting, right? The ability of somebody to become the best version of themselves. And I'm getting a little, woo-woo here, but I don't care. That to me is a huge, and I do think it is detectable by people who know how to detect it. And I think Carter George oozes it. Yeah. So I love Carter George. Having said that, Hampton Slukinski is also incredible, and I don't have as much experience with Petteri Rimpinen, but he looks incredible too. And I also like Eric Portillo very much. But yeah, I'm super excited about Carter George. If you're excluding Carter George and Liam Greentree, it's Jared Woolley.
Okay.
Because I believe, and you guys may have helped me stumble onto a connecting thought here. I believe, and I've said this of Jordan Spence a number of times, the thing that had me most excited about Jordan Spence was the power of the story. You have this kid who comes from the other side of the planet. He moves to Japan. He has to learn Japanese. He moves to Canada. He's got to learn English and French. He's small. He's undersized. Everybody says, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. You had a good run, but it ends here. And all he ever does is get defenseman of the year in the QMJHL, defenseman of the year in the AHL, rookie of the year in this league, rookie of the year in that league. Just, bing, bang, boom, challenges in front of him, knocks it down. And so that, to me, that type of person, the person who is capable of becoming the best version of themselves, there's that connecting thought. I get on board for that, because that's the kind of person, like, I don't know enough about basketball to say this definitively, but I'm willing to bet Michael Jordan didn't have any one singular physical ability that was better than anybody else. And I know hockey enough to say this definitively. Wayne Gretzky definitely didn't have any one singular physical ability that was better than everybody else. He wasn't the biggest, he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, he didn't have an incredible shot. What he had was rink vision, right? He had the ability to see the rink in a way that nobody else did. And Jared Woolley is a guy that was not even playing in the OHL when the Kings started scouting him. They were bummed when he got called up to the London Knights before they drafted him because they thought that they had found a gem. And they were upset that if he got called up to London and started playing more games in the OHL, that other teams would see him and they would draft him. He's huge. He's 6'4", I think. He's big, he's mean, and he is a quote unquote, stay at home, defensive first, whatever. And yet he's 6'5". I'm sorry, I had it wrong. 6'5", 215 pounds. He's on the London Knights. And for a player who's supposed to be the defensive half of the Brzustewicz-Woolley pairing, who incidentally, they're also best friends, he's got 17 points in 24 games so far in the OHL. They won the Memorial Cup with him. 6th round pick. That's the kind of guy that the Kings pick and turn into absolute gold. That is what this organization has maximized itself off of doing. That guy couldn't be any more perfect of a Kings type player. And like I said, for whatever reason, I believe that he has it in him to become the best version of himself. I'm very excited about it. And I have said time and time again, I am a defense first person. I believe in the philosophy that is presented publicly by the LA Kings. If the next foundation of greatness for this team is one of those goalies, I believe Carter George, Jared Woolley, Henry Brzustewicz, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
So hope that answers that question.
No, that's a great answer.
That was a great answer.
I remember when you guys drafted him, I didn't know much about him. I just remember he was with the London Knights. Mm-hmm. And then when you guys drafted Brzustewicz, I heard, and they're like, oh, they're D partners. I was like, wow, that's even better for you guys. And then I didn't know that they were best friends either. Yep. That's kind of funny. That was like when the Ducks drafted Noah Warren and Tristan Luneau. They were best friends too.
Okay,
but they weren't playing on the same line because I think they're both right-handed shot. But that's just
yeah. Brzustewicz is a righty. Woolley's a lefty.
That's even better.
I think Brzustewicz is 6'3", 6'4". Woolley's 6'5". 6'2".
Big boys there.
Yeah, I mean, I've interviewed them both collectively together, and it's one of those wacky things where like you wouldn't think they'd be friends because they're so totally different, and yet there's obviously something there that links them.
So we have hope in the future, at least a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly, it doesn't take that long to turn a franchise around. That's the thing I think people lose track of. Like, Cody, when was the last time the Ducks were good?
2017.
Okay. And now it's 2025. So they had how many years on the down road?
Well, that's a trick question because Bob Murray kind of retooled.
Okay. But when you officially were like, okay, this is over, how long did it take to get good?
I would say 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Dean Lombardi took over the Kings in 2006. They won the Cup in 2012.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year the Penguins first started collecting young first overall picks, but
2003.
Yeah, give or take. I mean, Crosby was 2005. They won the Cup in 2009.
Yeah.
It's like, if you do it right, it's a relatively fast process. And even the Blues, who didn't win anything, they were right there with the Kings, the Blackhawks, and the Penguins. It's the outlier teams like Edmonton and Buffalo, where management is just a dumpster fire, and they luck into generational talents that cover up all of their decades of failure. And people go like, well, rebuilding doesn't always work. Look at these awful franchises. And I go, yeah, you left out the part where they're awful franchises. Like, just don't be awful. And your rebuild time should be like 5-6 years tops.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm never that upset about it. Cause like, okay, let's just say the bottom falls. I mean, even the Kings, right? The bottom fell out in the 18-19 season. That was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're a playoff team. Have been for the last 4 years. It's not that big. I don't know. It's not that big a deal. So.
Yeah. But well, I think that was we already got you for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
This probably went a lot longer than I think all of us expected.
Sorry about that.
But no,
No,
it was every second was great. Except for the ones where you took jabs at me. Those were the ones.
Well, those were my favorite parts, by the way. And I just got to say, Jesse, going this long is because you were such a great guest.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
It was.
It did not feel an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was riveting. You get a lot of good stuff you gave us. Really appreciate it. I know I'm going to be listening to you all the time. So,
I just recently started. I try to listen to. I have so many podcasts. When I try to fit other ones in,
I will say the same thing, Cody, to you that I say to my extended family, who always says very sheepishly, "Oh, I don't listen to your podcast." I go, "It's fine. It's not for you." It's okay.
No, it's just
I get it.
I try to listen to other like hockey ones. So just to make our podcast better, I try to listen to like all the big news ones, so that way we're not missing anything. And I got my the Ducks ones as well. But I always try to fit you and Locked On LA Kings in. Those are the two I always try to for sure get in. If I have time, like in the wintertime, I'll have a lot more time because we're working more for wintertime. So I'll be listening to a lot more.
Well, people always try and give me advice on how to do things in a very broad, like how to reach the broadest audience. And I always try and tell them, I'm not going for a broad audience. I'm going for an incredibly niche audience. No. I'm talking to a really small group of people. And if you're not in that group, this is not for you. I am not your cup of tea.
I have friends that say, oh, like, I'm sorry. I was like, you're not a hockey fan.
Right.
Like, I
exactly.
know I'm like, I didn't make this podcast for you to listen to.
Right.
I'm like, you're not going to hurt my feelings.
In fact,
at all.
Full disclosure, one of my best friends who I just had dinner with the other night, I can remember walking from the house that I lived in off of 2nd Street in Long Beach. And he would come down, and he lived on the other side of 2nd Street. So we would walk to each other's houses and go hang out. And we were walking one day. It was like probably 2010-ish. And he said, do you ever think about maybe not doing the podcast and like focusing all that time and energy on something better? Ooh. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, who cares about this podcast? Like, it's not doing anything for you. It's just taking time and focus away from, you improving your life. And I was like, well, gee, thanks for the support. Now he wasn't wrong, and I appreciate him feeling comfortable enough to say that to me. But he didn't get what I was doing because he didn't care about hockey. And frankly, if he had cared about hockey, I probably wouldn't have done the podcast, because the podcast really came out of not having anybody to talk about hockey. So I picked everybody. And it sounds like you're in a similar situation, Cody, where it's like, yeah, if I had friends who gave a crap, I probably wouldn't do this. I'd probably just go talk to them about hockey.
I know maybe one of my friends, maybe he'll listen to it, but I guarantee you none of them have really listened. Yeah. And honestly, it does not hurt my feelings at all.
We do have Adam.
Yeah. I meant like friends that I've had since high school, middle school. Like, I know I didn't make this for everyone to listen to. I made it because we love talking hockey.
Yeah.
And plus, I used to work nights. He worked nights, and we both drove. Our phone conversations were pretty much our podcast.
There you go.
So that's why when he told me that, I was like, we're pretty much just talking on the phone like we used to, just now we're recording it.
The worst thing for me, and I'm sorry to just keep this going now beyond an hour and a half. The worst development for me has been ages ago. I used to go to like a friend's birthday party or a dinner or whatever, and somebody would say, oh, meet so-and-so, this total stranger. They love hockey.
Yeah.
And it used to get me excited. And I'd be like, oh, sweet. Here's somebody I can talk to hockey about. Now, if I go to a birthday party or a dinner party or get together with friends and somebody says, oh, here, meet so-and-so's husband. They're in town for Thanksgiving. He loves hockey. I go, oh, boy. No, he doesn't.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
Go, no, he doesn't.
I know the feeling.
Like, you don't. Not the way I do. And I'm not even sure if I even like hockey anymore. I just know about it, and it's all I can ever think of and talk about. But I just go like, okay, you think you like it, but I don't want to talk to you about it. I want to talk to you about whatever you're into. Yeah. I don't want to talk about what I'm into. And I get it. That's an incredibly privileged and silly standpoint, but that's been the...
No, I trust me, been there, done that. I know exactly what you mean.
And we do appreciate the time you spent with us. It was a lot longer than any of us planned, but it wasn't because it was bad. It was because it was good.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
I mean, you had a lot of good insight. You always make me rethink things. I got to tell you that, and I like it. You challenged me.
Well, then my work here is done.
And maybe in the future we could talk again. And
Anytime.
So, I mean, we do have usually like at the start of the season a Kings only episode.
Mhm.
Love to have you be part of that. That would be awesome. We usually get Eddie in on that too, and you know Eddie already.
Yeah. The only time I'm not available is during practice and games. Anything other than that, I can
you
move stuff
discussed that
around.
with me. That's why I was like, because I told my dad, I was like, all right, let's pick days. I'm like Jesse said, he can't do like for sure game days.
Mm-hmm.
And then you gave me a bunch of list of days. I'm like, and I was on call last week, and I didn't want to have an interview when I was on call for work, and then we're in the middle of something, and I had to go out for a stupid call. I wanted, 100% here and everything like that. So that's why I was like, today is perfect, other than your formatting thing. But we made it work. That's all that matters. But can you just let our listeners know where they can find you at?
Sure. So on social media, I'm at Kingsmen Podcast. I'm still doing content for the Kings, so you can find all the Kingsmen on the LA Kings YouTube page or wherever fine podcasts are curated. You can download the audio versions. I'm also doing independent content, including the Royal Half Radio post-game show, which I do following every game. And you can watch those on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. The YouTube channel is Royal Half Radio. The Twitter channel is at Kingsmen Podcast. The Facebook thing, I think, is at Kingsmen Pod Host. I can't remember why I did that differently, but some dumb reason for it. But and you can watch all of the archived episodes of all of those up on YouTube at Royal Half Radio. And there are articles that are not coming as quickly as I would like them to, but there are articles on the royalhalf.com, some written by me, some written by other people. It is not the same writing staff as was around at the peak of the royalhalf.com, so apologies, you're not going to get updates from Rudy Kelly or Pumpernickel or Jersey Brian or Indiana Matt. But you'll get the occasional article from me and from some other people. So royalhalf.com, Royal Half Radio, all the Kingsmen. I think that's about it.
Well,
oh, and sorry, listen to the Bannerman, listen to Thanks Bud, listen to the Kings Realm podcast, because I'm trying to recreate the collaborative spirit of the old Royal Half. I'm trying to bring everybody under the umbrella, trying to promote them as much as possible. So Bannerman, Thanks Bud, Kings Realm podcast. I feel like I'm leaving somebody out, and I hate it. That might be it. Sorry.
I'm trying to think if there's any other ones I can at the top of my head. But no, I appreciate you coming on and joining us, and we'll be looking to hopefully have you on again for a whole. We'll do it when we do a whole Kings episode and everything like that, and just. I hope the Kings have a good season, just not as good as the Ducks.
Yeah, well, back at you. One of the things that I love to do when we would have guests on all the Kings Men from other organizations, I would say, I wish you the best of luck, just not your team.
Yeah.
So, Cody, I wish you the best of luck in your personal life. I hope the Anaheim Ducks fall off a cliff and miss the playoffs every year for the rest of my life.
Ditto, but opposite.
Perfect.
But all right, do you want anything else to say before we get out of here, Dad?
Yeah, go Kings, go.
Go Kings, go.
All right, I'll leave it at that. All right, thank you, everyone. We'll see you guys next time.